So we're getting towards the end of February and I wanted to talk about growing alliums all year round. Now it's a bit tricky because there's lots of different things to talk about, and so I've got two sets of guides. I've got a year-round growing guide which you can find linked in the description, and that kind of gives you the big picture of all the different types of alliums and where they all fit in terms of your year-round supply. And then I've got individual growing guides for each different type of allium and all the different successions of those that you need. Now, of course, you don't need to grow them all year round. If you don't want to grow them all year round, just grow the main crop successions, and they're the easiest to grow and give you the best harvest. But if you want them all year round, certainly possible. You can certainly have a nice wide range. So when I'm talking about alliums, I'm generally talking about bulbin onions, salad onions. I'm talking about garlic and green garlic, which is immature garlic when you're eating the whole of the stem as well as the monobulb. Elephant garlic, leeks, perhaps green onions are a category in a set on their own, and those are immature bulbin onions, so they've not fully bulbed up, so they might be the size of a small fist, sort of 1 to 2 inches in diameter, something like that, and you're probably eating those in sort of May, June sort of time. So that's a nice array. We generally eat, ideally, something from the leek family, something from the garlic family, and something from the onion family every day. So we get through probably, 4,000 onions a year or something like that for our family. And that includes salad onions and green onions, ideally maybe a leek a day, 2 or 3, 4, 5 garlic cloves every day, something like that. So a lot of alliums, and we do a lot of interplanting because there's just nowhere near enough space on my little allotment for dedicated space for all of those different types. So what we're going to do now is we're going to have a look round all the different stages of alliums that we've got at this time of year, 22nd of February. So first I want to show you my onion seedlings. They germinate at home, no propagator, no heat mats or anything like that, and pretty much as soon as they've germinated, kind of about sort of this sort of stage, I move them into the unheated polytunnel, and you'll notice that they're nice compact little plants. They're not floppy, they're not leggy, and they'll just grow away really nicely in an unheated space. So that's the main crop onions, so about 500 or so of those. I'll also grow some onions in sets, and the reason that I do a few in sets is just partly because I don't have space in this polytunnel for everything to grow as seeds, but also because I do plant some of my sets out sort of late April, May time, just because I don't have bed space coming free until then, and that's a bit long to keep onions in little tiny modules, cells like this. I like to have these planted out sort of late March, early April. So sets do fill a role for me. So then we've got leeks. Now I don't have a lot of leeks growing at this time because leeks are a very slow growing crop. You don't really need to start them early. But again, you can see they're nice, stocky little plants, looking really good. And I'll only have a few trays at this point in time, and then I'll do maybe 4 more trays like this. And you can see what I mean by multi-sown, 3 or 4 leeks in each module, and I'll show you some quickly outside so you can see what they look like interplanted into my brassica beds. So they never grow very big, but they're interplanted, they don't take up any extra space, so they're a bonus crop. I've got loads and loads of salad onions in the ground for spring, early spring, and eating now. But these are my salad onions for eating sort of late spring, kind of early into early summer maybe. And again, you can see nice stocky little plants. Well, stocky might be the wrong thing, but not leggy anyway. And these will be ready for planting out in a few weeks' time. And I generally interplant them into everything. So I will be interplanting them into my lettuce beds. I've already got them interplanted into my store spinach beds. Anywhere that I can interplant onions, we're doing it. Now what I do like to do is, for quite a lot of these early varieties, I am using something like Leela, which is a kind of red bulbing onion, but it works great as a spring onion at this time of year. Later on in the year it doesn't do very well because it's trying to bulb, but right now, for sort of eating in sort of May time, it's kind of perfect. It's a really beautiful bulbing onion. I've got some more here. I've got some more here, and as I say, we're 22nd of February and I sowed my last batch yesterday, and then I'll switch over to a true salad onion, and so I'll be using something like Guardsman thereafter. So this spinach bed used to be interplanted with salad onions. They've all been harvested now, but it did look a bit like this earlier on, and yeah, so now just letting that spinach grow on, and I'll be clearing that soon and replanting it. This bed is my furthest on Japanese kind of overwintering onions, and when you let them get this big this early, they will go to seed if you leave them until sort of May, June time. So they're best harvested as green onions, sort of 1 to 2 inches in diameter, in sort of late April, early May kind of time, and they'll be amazing like that, but don't leave them for too long. So these were planted back, sown in August, planted out in October, and these were also interplanted with spinach, but the spinach has all been harvested from these. So this is my next batch of overwintered onions, and you can see these look a bit floppy, and the reason for that is they're in a polytunnel. They were planted in the polytunnel in October. We happen to have a really nice sunny October, which is a bit warm in a polytunnel for onions, especially onion seedlings, and as a result they kind of get a bit floppy. But as soon as we get into spring, they like the warmth and they like the sun, of course, and they start to stand up tall, a bit more like this. And so these will be ready in sort of, you know, middle of May, early May, something like that. And that is just before this bed needs to be cleared in the polytunnel and replanted. So it's worth having a nice little patch here, just so that we've got, you know, plentiful onions in May. And then in June, these are the onions that we'll be eating. So these are again a Japanese onion, and these are outside. So this is the first batch that you've seen that are outside. We're all again doing really nice. There's actually a mix here of multi-sown ones, which are tough ball, and sets down there, which are Shenshu yellow. Now we're on to the salad onions, and these are salad onions outside. And actually, as I said, sometimes the salad onions outside do better than the ones inside or undercover. And this year, the outside ones have been amazing. So this is my least mature of the salad onion bed. And you know, you could harvest these now, but we've got plenty of others to harvest. So we'll be leaving these for a few months. And basically, everywhere you look, there's salad onions interplanted with something. These are interplanted with spinach, which in turn are interplanted with calabrese. These are interplanted with lettuces, these with spinach and beetroot down the edges. So now we're on to the leeks, the garlic. So this is garlic in the polytunnel, and this was put in really late. So I think I planted this out in December or early January. And this is going to be harvested for green garlic. And green garlic is just where you eat the whole plant, including the leaves and the stem and the monobulb at the bottom. And you do that because you're harvesting it in April, May and early June, and then in late June you're harvesting your bulbing garlic for storage, and then in August so late in July and August you're harvesting green garlic again, that's sown in February and early March. So that's a great way to get a really long harvest period for garlic, and we don't need that much of it. So I've got about 10 tubs of green garlic at home, a couple of small patches in the polytunnel, and then a few containers outside on the allotment. And then we're on to the garlic, main crop garlic. So I've got that interplanted into all of the strawberry beds, and then I've got a few dedicated beds like this one, and I'll probably start interplanting into these beds as well, things like salad onions just to fill in the gaps. And then I've got garlic interplanted into my salad onion beds. Anywhere I've got a little bit of space, basically, I've got garlic. And then this is a strawberry bed, but in every little gap I've got elephant garlic. And elephant garlic is in the leek family, and the beauty of it is that you can harvest the tops for leeks, or you can leave them to mature and harvest the bulbs, which are kind of like a mild tasting garlic with a really big bulb. So all the way down the edges of this bed there's elephant garlic, all the way down the centre of this bed there's elephant garlic. As I say, it's a great crop, and it's a great way to get something that tastes like leeks all the way through the year. And then here's some of my leeks. Basically along the edges of all my beds, wherever I've got a gap, I'm putting leeks, loads and loads of leeks. Let's loop back to the main crop onions again. So these are going to get planted out sort of late March, early April. I like a kind of density of about 70 plants per square metre. And as I say, these are all, as you can see, multiple onions, ideally 3 onions in each module. And they just get planted out as modules, so no separating them or anything like that, so it's really quick and easy. And then I will cover them with a net, just to keep the worst of the wind off them. And yeah, they always grow pretty nice, so we get a beautiful harvest of these. And I say that the beauty of doing them multi-sown is you do tend to get just small and medium-sized onions, which are just the sort of size you want for cooking, and they just keep so much better than big onions. I've also got lots of garlic and lots of main crop onions in store. We've also got pickled onions and pickled garlic and leeks in the ground, etc. So quite a lot of things. I will just mention though, for my stored bulbing onions, I really do recommend that you don't try and grow large onions. Grow small to medium-sized onions. They just keep a lot better. Red onions seem for me to keep a lot better than white onions. Red onions are also healthier. Main crop onions that you're harvesting in August, they keep better than overwintered onions that you're harvesting in sort of May, June, July sort of time. Although our overwintered onions, particularly tough ball, they will last until about now, so till about February. We also grow loads of shallots and shallot-like onions as well, and they keep pretty well as well. What we do find though is that the main crop onions start to run out of, the quality of them starts to degrade in about sort of March, April time. And so you've got to have something to fill the gap between March, April and August when your main crop onions come again. Our main crop onions we store in the garage. It's unheated, it's wooden, and in order to keep them at a good quality, we do put a frost protection heater in there. It comes on at about 2 degrees centigrade. It just keeps that just above freezing, which helps with the quality of the onions, and it stops them sprouting as well. If they get too cold, they start to sprout. And we also have a fan, and that fan just comes on for 2 hours a day, and it just dries the onions. We keep them in open boxes, single layer in each box, with the fan blowing over them. And as I say, the fan comes on for an hour in the morning and an hour in the evening, and of course the onions are still alive, they're still breathing, they're still transpiring, and if you don't keep them dry, then they tend to get a green mould. So I hope you like this quick whirlwind tour of all of my alliums. My name's Steve, this is the Seaside Kitchen Garden and Allotment channel, and I'll see you soon.